Welcome to the Atheists of Florida YouTube channel. We are pleased to offer some of the most significant speakers and profound issues of our times. If you like today's video, please hit the like button. If you have already subscribed, thank you. If not, you know what to do.
Yes, as Judy says, I am a science teacher in Miami-Dade County, 33 years in middle school. I am retiring in June to take this on full time. Those are the projects that I'll be running. The T.I.E.S I've been running for a while, and then the educational aspects of ScienceSaves and Young Skeptics. I'm looking forward to retirement. I'm a little nervous because I think I'm leaving education at a time when education needs teachers, teachers who are not afraid to speak up. But 33 years is a long time dealing with middle schoolers. I think if you can imagine, if I think I'm going to go straight to heaven when I die, being a middle school science teacher, but I mean that figuratively. I don't mean it. So here's some pictures of my classroom. I'll be emptying out this year, and I do love teaching, and I do love being with kids. So there's some pictures for you. But I would like you to go ahead and share with your finger or in the chat, if you could please choose one of the following, because that's what the topic is today and how it affects science teachers. So number one, lift up a number one, or go ahead and put it in the chat if you think God created humans in their present form 6,000 years ago. Number two, humans evolved, but with God's guidance. And number three, humans evolved, but God had no part in the process. Now I'm going to open my chat so I can see what you guys are saying. 3, 3, 3. Oh, I'm so shocked.
Yes, me too.
All right, let me put, since I'll play. Okay, so I guess what I want to say here is, come on, click. You are not a random sampling of Americans. Let's look at the numbers. All of you that did play picked 3. You're wondering, where's the United States? Where's the United States on this big list? And this was a very, yes.
I'm sorry, we have one person who picked a 2 and Michael picked a 4.
So. Oh, okay, good. Sorry, I didn't see all of them. Well, as you can see, this question was very straightforward. Humans evolved, true or false? This is back in 2005. I do have more modern data. And if you can't find the US, I will help you. There it is. There's the US down there with one country below us, and that is Turkey. But over the last decade, the percentage of American adults who agreed with this statement increased from 40% to 54%. So there's good news on the horizon. So let's look at some of the numbers, what other people answered. So as you can see, the dark line, the dark green line is gone up from 9% to 22% in that time period, from 1983 to 2019. Man developed with God guiding is kind of remained more or less stable, but has dropped a little bit. And God created man in its present form has dropped from 44 to 40%. So the number that's increasing actually is that dark green line. There's a closer look for you. Here's an interesting question, and we're also seeing an increase here. What percentage of Americans favor teaching creationism along with evolution in public schools? The number was 54%. The number is now 63.5%. So this is also moving in the right direction, I think. It makes sense though, because here you have the contemporary theory of biological evolution is one of the most robust products of scientific inquiry. That's the advancing science, the AAAS. The National Academy of Science is saying it's thoroughly tested and confirmed, strong and well supported, one of the strongest and most useful scientific theories we have. Here we have the Pew Research Center. This is from 2015. If you poll scientists, close to 100% believe that humans and other living things have evolved over time. So what's going on? Why are these numbers, although encouraging, still a little too low? Well, the National Science Teachers Association believes it is a century of political controversy which has prevented evolution from being emphasized in science curricula. So let's take a quick look at Americans' evolution education history. Evolution education, teaching evolution was banned up until 1968. In 1975, balancing evolution with creationism was now unconstitutional. So while in 1968 we can start teaching evolution in public schools, it wasn't until 75 that you could not teach creationism. But that's okay, because they're going to change the name and call it something else, and they're going to call it creation science, and that was considered unconstitutional in 1987. And then we're going to change the name again and call it intelligent design, and it was in Kitzmiller v. Dover in 2005 that intelligent design is now considered unconstitutional. So basically, here's a little cartoon for you that over time they've changed the name from creationism to creation science to intelligent design to keep sneaking it back into the classroom. So what's happening now that since 2005, when all creationism in its tuxedo, as I like to say, has been declared unconstitutional? Well, now we have this it's called academic freedom, where we're promoting these types of academic freedom laws, or we encourage teachers to teach the controversy or debate or look for evidence for and against. And it sounds wonderful. It sounds like something critical thinkers like yourselves would advocate. But it's really a way of sneaking creationism in through the back door. I mean, are we going to let the kids decide between alchemy and chemistry or phrenology and neurology? I don't think so. Let's look at some of these views and where these views are coming from. Let me highlight some things for you here. My clicker is a little slow. All right, well, I'll start talking and see if my clicker starts working. I don't want to get too far ahead. And then if you look at church attendance weekly, those are the majority. That's where you find the majority of people who believe that God created man in his present form. Come on now, machine. There we go. What about that? Okay, I'm just going to use a little button, the little instructions on the bottom. As you can see, the people that attend church the least, man developed, but God had no part, is kind of a corollary to the opposite. God created man in its present form. And those of us who consider ourselves nuns, 59% of us believe that man developed, but God had no part. Man developed with God guiding, as you can see, is in the middle there. And that's an interesting thing. And that's from 2019. Interesting. As I said, I was going to talk about elephants. What if we talked about elephants? What if instead of saying human beings as we know them today developed from an earlier species of animal, what if we just said elephants developed from an earlier species of animal? Well, I think you guys could probably guess what happened. The number of Americans that agree with that statement went up to 75%. So there really is a conflict of people not feeling uncomfortable with the idea of humans evolving more than anything else. So how does this affect our teachers? And that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today. If you ask teachers if they feel pressured to include creationism in their curriculum, 31% of high school biology teachers responded that they did. If they feel pushed to de-emphasize or omit evolution, 30% agreed with that statement. That's a lot. That's a lot of teachers. I want to tell you this story about being in Florida. You all perhaps have seen a rock that looks just like this, because this picture is a picture just here in Miami-Dade of a form. You know, we know that Florida was underwater about 150,000 years ago. And I have a friend who's on the T.I.E.S teacher corps with me. That's teachers who present evolution education and resources to their fellow teachers. She is in Georgia, not far north of our state line. And she had, past tense, had a hiking club. And as the kids were hiking in Georgia, she saw one of these rocks. They have similar rocks on the ground. She picked it up. She goes, "Oh my gosh, look, can't you see? We're hundreds of miles from the shore. And here we have a seashell, fossilized seashell. And that's because Georgia, this part of Georgia, was underwater 150,000 years ago." Well, they canceled her hiking club. The kids got home, and I don't know if it was casually said to the parents or, "Hey, Mom, do you know what our teacher said?" But they canceled her hiking club because they didn't want the kids hearing that Georgia was 150,000 plus years old. So that's what I mean when I go back to this slide, that you feel pressure to de-emphasize it. Maybe, you know, other hiking guides in that area that are teachers might not pick up that shell and simply not say anything like that, which is a darn shame for the rest of us that have kids and want them to be in awe of nature and the history of life on Earth. Another thing that confuses teachers is, as Answers in Genesis, as in Mr. Ken Ham, has a booth at the annual National Education Association for the last 2 decades. They're getting in there as a loophole, and boy, do they have shiny, pretty stuff. They have books and CDs and all sorts of stuff. So a teacher that, you know, who this is not her area or his area of expertise might be a little confused about what to teach and what the consensus is. I was sent this from a county, happens to be Georgia as well. Not that I'm not picking on Georgia. This is happening everywhere, including places like California and Massachusetts. But this is how 7th grade science teachers in this particular county in Georgia are asked to begin their unit on evolution, so that it is not uncomfortable or confrontational in any way for the kids. They're asked to tell the kids to pair up and to tell each other what a zombie is, or what a vampire is, what a ghost is, an alien. And then the teacher is supposed to say, "Okay, so now you understand what a zombie is. Just because you understand what a zombie is doesn't mean zombies actually exist. It's just you need to understand what a zombie is." So today we're introducing a topic called evolution. You don't need to believe in evolution, just like you don't believe in zombies, but now you're going to be able to understand what it is. This is how teachers are encouraged to begin the unit on evolution. Mind you, we've tried to contact them. Other organizations has tried to contact them, and we have not gotten very far. So let's focus a little bit on high school biology teachers, and I'm going to focus on my own middle school folks. What percentage of high school biology teachers endorse creationism? Well, in 2007, it was 16%. Thankfully, that went down 5.5 percentage points in 5.5, in 2019. We actually think this is due largely to what we call generational replacement. Only 7% of the more recent teachers express or espouse creationism. So we think it's just some of the older crowd retiring. We asked personal views on human evolution in middle school and high school. Whoops, sorry. And as you can see, humans have developed over millions of years, but God guided the process is at 45 percentages in middle school and 39 in high school. Humans developed God had no part is also pretty high, higher in high school teachers. And God created human beings in their present form, 19 and 10. So better than the general population for that last row. So are the numbers finally shifting? What percentage of science teachers are emphasizing that the scientific consensus that evolution is a fact? Not too bad, right? 86%. I can't see your faces, so I can't see if you're smiling or frowning. But I think 86% at the high school level and 82% at the middle school level is definitely moving the needle in the right direction.
Bertha, could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Is this public high schools?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You may have said that and I didn't remember.
No, I don't believe I did. So thank you. And now this one, it says public schools at the top there. And I find this encouraging. Teaching evolution as a settled science, that's that green box. And it's gone from 50% of teachers doing that, high school teachers doing that, 50% in 2007 to closer to 70%, looks like 67% or so in 2019. Sending mixed messages is orange, that's gone down. Avoiding the topic altogether, which I don't blame them because I don't know. I'm now, you guys are in Florida with me and I'm not supposed to say gay in my classroom. So I might avoid it just so I don't get in trouble. But in this case, the avoidance of evolution is going down. And the teaching of, or, openly espousing creationism is also going down. So again, I think I got some good news today, right? In this crazy atmosphere of ours, everything's swirling around, especially in our wonderful state. These are hopefully good news numbers for you. Why is all this important? Well, in 2019, a Carnegie Foundation commissioned that our nation's capacity to innovate for economic growth and the ability of American workers to thrive in the modern workforce depend on a broad foundation of math and science learning. And I mean, I don't got to tell you guys, this is what a good science foundation does, for Pete's sake. I mean, the amount of food that we can produce now and our understanding of antibiotics and our interventions when it comes to heart health and other aspects of human health. It's all about teaching kids science, and evolution education is essential. It's the underpinning of the biological sciences. Remember, today is National Science Appreciation Day. Today marks the day that Jonas Salk pronounced that his vaccine trials, his polio vaccine trials, I believe it was 1954, I might be wrong about that, were successful. And this is what the landscape looked like in the early 1950s. So it's science saves, absolutely science saves. And I had to throw this in. The man on the left is my grandfather opening the very first box of polio vaccine arriving in Havana, Cuba in 1955. So that's my street cred right there, that I get to do this, that I'm, doing this education program. And I did get to know him very well. He died when I was 26 years old. He was my pediatrician. So I think that's pretty neat. Is there a solution? Can we keep moving the needle in the right direction? Absolutely. And that is a better education. And I apologize about my dogs. They're barking like crazy. Let me close the door.
It may be distracting for you, but I don't hear them. I
Oh,
don't.
good. I'm glad. I do. So a better education. Look at these numbers here. When we talk about pre-service and continuing education coursework covering evolution specifically, 42% of middle school teachers have not gotten any courses specifically covering evolution. Only 19% have no courses in high school. 3 or more courses, 49% of high school teachers. And by no means am I bashing middle school teachers. I am a middle school teacher. I think we are really amazing teachers. We deal with such a difficult, transformative age group. But we are also the jack of all trades. We have to, if I told you right now what I teach, what I'm teaching tomorrow or over the course of this school year, I'm teaching everything from biology to the layers of the earth, to the laws of motion, to the periodic table, to the electromagnetic spectrum. I gotta know a lot of different things to do what I'm doing this year. And so it's really hard for middle school teachers to become, you know, an expert in one particular field, in this case, evolution education. So middle school teachers do report themselves as being less well equipped to teach evolution, and they do devote less class time to evolution. So and these are a couple of quotes that are really important, I think, before I move on to what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do to help my fellow middle school science teachers? First of all, the National Center for Science Education claims that if all teachers could just complete a course in evolutionary biology, that would have a substantial impact on the emphasis of evolution in the classroom. And this is my favorite quote. Good teachers can teach just about anything, and there are a lot of good middle school science teachers, as long as they have the resources and content knowledge to do so. And so that's where we come in, the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. There is hope. Well, you have a 54% level of evolution acceptance among US adults. Between the ages of 18 and 29, that goes up to 68%. Perhaps this younger group of adults has received a better science education. They also have excellent science communicators like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson that they get access through YouTube and other ways. So I want to tell you what I've been doing about this. I'm a doer. My 7th grade science teacher, her name was Sister Isabel. She said to us, girls and boys, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And boy, oh boy, that has stayed with me, because it's true. I can sit here at home and dream of all the things that I can do to improve climate education, evolution education, but it doesn't make me feel good. I got to go out and do something about it. So I reached out to Richard Dawkins, and I told him what I was trying to do in Miami-Dade County. I said, you know, I'm leading book studies for teachers. I'm going to other schools and helping them with evolution education. And he said, can I come? Can I come and speak to these teachers? Which, you know, after I picked myself off the floor, it's a longer story. I'm not going to bore you guys, but if this was on a phone, he called me back and he said, hey, you know, I want to help you. Can I come and speak to these teachers? That picture there in the top right, that's my school auditorium. Some of the teachers are pictured on the left. This was in 2014. And what the Miami-Dade County did was open it to any teacher, and those are my students in the front row there. Any teacher who wanted to come from the school district, any science teacher could come and join us at Carver. And Richard and I just talked evolution and talked about the, you know, the challenges of teaching evolution in the United States. That little boy in the red sweater is my son. He is now 18 and just got accepted to the University of Florida. So as you can see, this was a while back. And this was just last December. Richard invited me on a Hawaiian cruise, and we had just seen a whale at that very moment. That's why I have that look on my face. A big whale, the fluke came up. So I was extremely excited about that. So we started together. Richard said, will you come work for me? I am full-time in the classroom. And I told him that. I go, okay, I'm just a middle school science teacher. He goes, no, I think you can do this. Let's do it. I'm going to provide you with the resources. And so we started together the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. We call it T.I.E.S. And I said, okay, do I get to do it my way? Do I get to do anything I want? He goes, yes. I was like, yoo-hoo. So the first thing I said is, I'm going to provide content. Okay, so it's a very content-rich workshop. If you walk into a T.I.E.S workshop, and I'll show you the numbers, how many workshops we've had nationwide in a little bit. I'm going to hold that information back. The first thing is I'm going to give you a lot of content because, like I said earlier, I am teaching earth science, gas laws, periodic table. It took me a really long time to learn all of that. I wish there was a teacher institute for geological science or meteorological science. I remember the first time I taught rocks. I didn't know the difference between a halite and I don't even know, a feldspar. And I had to teach this. So you gotta give teachers their content. Second thing, I said, Richard, every lab, every resource is going to be on our website, and it's going to be free for the teachers. And if there's materials that they need to have to do it, it's going to be under $5 at any supermarket. And the little beak type thing there that you're seeing with the little bird in the center, I just did that lab in my class with gummy bears and M&Ms, but it could be done with raisins and popcorn kernels, and it is definitely under $5. So we have a lot of resources on our page. We also have, if you click on some of the resources, there's me doing it in my classroom so that they can see how it's done. And then, you know what? We got to hit these misconceptions. We've absolutely got to hit them. So the first misconception is, evolution's just a theory. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I would be in, Bimini right now. Yes, evolution is a theory, but so is gravity. My response to that is always, do you want the doctor to wash their hands before they do surgery on you? And everybody says, of course I want my doctor to wash his or her hands. I said, why? It's just the theory. It's the germ theory of disease. Unfortunately, this problem isn't going to go away because the word theory in just common language is used as a hunch. You hear it on, police detective shows like, oh, I have a theory. The burglar came in through the window, grabbed the laptop, and ran out through the front door. And that word is going to continue to be used like that. So I think this misunderstanding is going to continue. The other misunderstanding is this gosh darn picture in the top right. If you Google evolution, which I could do right now, but I'll spare you, you're going to get a ton of these in images, and then you'll get a few bird beaks, and that's it. And this image is wrong. Okay, the chimpanzee is still here. We could not have evolved from the chimp. I tell my kids, I put my family tree and I show my grandfather and I show my cousin down here along with me and my brother. And I say, I did not come from my cousin Danny. We both evolved from that guy I showed you with the vaccines. We both evolved from Daniel. It is not a ladder of progress. It is a tree. Human evolution is more like a bush. And so I do a lot of, in every workshop, we show the best websites to practice seeing evolution as a tree or a bush instead of this darn ladder of progress, which leads to so many misconceptions. And then we really, really push scientific inquiry because that's infused across the curriculum. It has to be. We also show the current relevance of evolutionary biology. Some people don't understand how it's making a difference right now, as say in conservation efforts or in the effort to maintain the crops around the world and stuff like that, antibiotic resistance, etc. Make it relevant. Here's Peter and Rosemary Grant. They have just discovered speciation happening in real time in the Galapagos Islands. So we have a lab on them. There it is. So the kids are the birds. Those are the bird beaks. And the island changes radically. There's another grade, another year doing the same thing. And so they see which bird beaks help you survive and which phenotype or which bird beak shape doesn't help you survive. Another example of science happening right now, evolution happening right now, are the famous stickleback fish in Alaska. So we have labs on that. we make them think, okay, so you have dogs, the dogs have fleas, you gave them a medicine that used to work and it doesn't work anymore. Why? Why doesn't that medicine work anymore? We really push the idea that religious beliefs should make no difference. And I purposely have this slide with these two wonderful scientists. Richard Dawkins, as you know, is an atheist. Dr. Kenneth Miller is a very thoughtful Catholic. He goes to church every Sunday. He is the author of the textbook used in the state of Florida. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people, the best evolution education defender we have in the United States. And these two men have tremendous respect for each other. So it really shouldn't have anything to do with your religious faith. Evidence is evidence, as Dr. Kenneth Miller shows. He's at Brown University. I also get a lot of emails from teachers saying, hey, you know, they want me to teach, a parent wants me to teach creationism. I'm getting nervous that this might get worse as we empower parents more and more. You guys were talking about book banning before I got started. I haven't seen it yet, but I have a feeling that more and more parents are going to be pushing this agenda. And I try to get the teacher out of the argument. I try to tell them, hey, the curriculum is set by the district and by the state. And we happen to have very good evolution standards in the state of Florida. I know, shocker, but we have excellent evolution standards in both middle and high school. So I tell them, sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not up to the teacher. And I'm not going to address it. That if you want to address that, go change the standards. I don't think I want to say that anymore, because now they might feel emboldened enough to go and change the standards, which are up for review soon. So I'm not saying that anymore. I also help them turn to organizations like the ones you see listed at the top there, that they say things like evolution should be emphasized in K-12 science education. It's needed to be well-informed citizens. I try to give them like support from other places as well. I wanted to show you some workshops. This was our very first workshop in 2015 at the Miami Museum of Science. We actually brought in one of the Siberian foxes, which their fascinating experiment. They took fur trade foxes and basically turned them into dogs over the course of a few decades. And it's just an excellent example of how artificial selection reflects natural selection. So here we go. These are the workshops. In the last 7 years, I haven't, we've had a few this year already, but I wanted to give you full years. Our total workshops are 273 workshops. How do you do that if I'm in the classroom full time? I have a train the trainer model where I have 85 different presenters in all 50 US states. And that's just a look at what it looks like. So lots going on in Georgia and Florida, obviously, because I'm down here, but we've been in every US state, and we've been in every US state more than once. So here are some of the people that do these presentations. They reach out to me, I reach out to them, I work with them one-on-one. They're high school science teachers. The guy hugging the tree is my Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi presenter. So he has a heart of gold, that guy. This is our Virginia presenter with the former First Lady of Virginia. Her husband, I believe his name was Northam. He lost in the last election. But she was a former biology teacher. So she came to our thing. And I thought that was really cool. So here are some of the teachers. We have them do the very same activities that they're going to go and take back to their classrooms. We try them out in our lessons and our workshops. This is Birmingham, Alabama. We've had 7 in a row there. Every year we go to the Birmingham Zoo. We partner with zoos, universities, school districts, etc. This is Texas. 75 people showed up for that one. We invite the man on the right. It's Dr. Nathan Lentz. He's a professor at City College, sorry. And he wrote an excellent book called Human Errors. I highly recommend it. And so we invite either via Zoom or in person, we invite wonderful scientists like him to come in. We want to treat our teachers with respect. We're not going to like bore them, waste their time. We're going to give them real good professional development. We team up with zoos very often. So of course we're going to share the animals with them because teachers are nerds. I'm a nerd. I love animals. And that is a laughing kookaburra from Australia. And that was in Montana. Montana? Yeah, I believe so. We show them different labs, as you can see. Oh, there's a little armadillo. We invite groups from the local areas, and this woman is an amazing fossil lover, so we have her bring her stuff in. It's independent of me, but I just say, come in, I'll give you a table and talk and enjoy yourself with the teachers. So we also give away a bunch of stuff, books, t-shirts, folders, and food. We have a lot of food. Teachers love that. So what are they saying about our workshops? Stuff like, I love it. I love going to a PD on content. Best workshop I've ever attended. Wish there were more workshops like this. And I love this one. This is from Texas, Dallas. I cannot thank you enough for what you've done in making T.I.E.S the most useful evil ed group for middle schoolers in the country. And of course, that's going to translate to kids in the classroom. Kids are going to get more meaningful, active learning opportunities. So what else is going on? We have a wonderful webinar series where we invite, and these are open to everybody. We invite people to come in and talk. We invite teachers to bring in their students, and usually in the evenings, and they are all on our website under webinars. Richard did one for me a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Neither one of us realized it was Easter Sunday, which I think is kind of funny. The last two have been amazing, and they're all on YouTube. They're all recorded at the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science. The last two, one was on evolution gone wrong, all the mistakes in the human body. I heard one of you talking about painful ankles earlier. You could thank that, thank the fish who were never meant to walk on 2 legs for our painful knees and our painful ankles. And the last one was the evolution of bipedalism, the latest research on why we stood up and why we walk the way we walk. Really, 2 really great ones. And then we went ahead and moved in and offered elementary school teachers really good stuff, grades 3 to 5. This is my house. These are all elementary school teachers who taught me what I was doing wrong, thinking that I could write curriculum for elementary school. They fixed a lot of I created it, and then they came in and tore it apart, and I fixed it all based on their recommendations. And that's them outside my door. It's what I'm looking at right now out the window. We've reached out to the homeschooling community. This is a very, very large group of over 40,000 homeschoolers, and I regularly do stuff for them. We've been in the news. We've been in Scientific American. And during the pandemic, I created virtual units that the kids can do on their own because they were home and everything was crazy for a while there. These lessons were downloaded 2,000 times in a matter of weeks around the country and around the world. They come with the student response sheets. They come with the rubric, the scoring guide, the assessments, everything. And I'm actually still using it in my classroom, even though I'm guiding the process. But they work in the classroom as well as they did asynchronously with the pandemic. We wrote a book. It came out December 2021, and it was #1 on Amazon for a while. And it's 16 teachers got together, and we asked them, tell us why you became a science teacher, why you love evolution education, what's your favorite book, your favorite video, your favorite lesson, the misconception you addressed the most. And the book is covered in QR codes or live links that take the reader to every resource the teacher in that chapter mentions. And we're taking them to the Grand Canyon in June. We're taking 30 teachers to the Grand Canyon in June. with a biological, evolutionary biologist and geologist guide. So, okay, boom, that's T.I.E.S. And then about a year and a half ago, Robin Blumner, who is the CEO for the Center for Inquiry, under which you find the Richard Dawkins Foundation, said, would you take on 2 more projects? And I said, yes. And I love this one. ScienceSaves is all about promoting the fact that thanks to science, individual lives are longer, healthier, easier, and fuller. And that is why we have National Science Appreciation Day today, which is states all over the country. Over 20 states have adopted today as National Science Appreciation Day. We have a scholarship where the winner gets $10,000. If you have any high school seniors in your life, 30 seconds or less video answering the question, what has science done for me or someone I know? We're giving away $15,000. The top prize is $10,000. These are some of the winners from last year. The videos are online. And so if you have a senior who's interested in participating, they could see last year's videos and get an idea what makes a good video. I could show you, actually, they're linked here, but I think I'm running out of time. This is National Science Appreciation Day, and we are meeting today on National Science Appreciation Day, which I think is super cool. I've created lessons where teachers can address the standards they have to address in their classrooms anyway, but with ideas of how science has saved so many lives and improved so many lives. So see, these are just examples of the lessons. This guy, billions of lives this man has saved. Crazy. They have to do things like analyze data, read data, stuff like that, stuff they have to do in a science or math class. I love this one. This is a science lesson, but it's also a math lesson where they calculate slope. So around 8th grade, kids have to learn how to calculate slope. And teachers use any old graph. Why not use a graph that shows a child mortality rate under the age of 5 in the US from 1800 to 2020 and discuss why there's been such a dramatic improvement in the numbers, such a decrease in the mortality rate. It's the same thing. You're doing slope, but you're doing it with a meaningful graph. CRISPR, got to talk about that one. And so this is what I get the first day of school. For 33 years, I've been asking kids to draw me a scientist, and this is what I get. And this is what I get on the last day of school. And that, I think, is really aligned with ScienceSaves. So this year, we actually had an image contest for kids to replace the stereotypical image that was on the website with a real, true image of what scientists do. And finally, the third program that I will be taking on full time is called Young Skeptics. And this is just, to get kids to think critically. And that's not easy to do. Teachers have so much to cover in a course of a school year. Got to make it fun. We have some ideas. These are some of the lessons that I've created. I love this one. The first one there, how to sell pseudoscience. The idea is called mental inoculation. And boy, can I give you guys a great speaker. Her name is Melanie Tresick King. And she has this amazing website and an article about, what people do to sell you pseudoscience. It's going to have no GMOs. It's going to have gluten-free. It's going to say expert recommended. It's going to say 30-day money-back guarantee. It's going to have some science language. And what I made my kids do was I made them create their own advertisement, either in a video or in a one page like this. And they had to use at least 5 of the 7 pseudoscientific ways we sell pseudoscience, in the hopes that it's, in a sense, it's a mental inoculation, right? When they do come across stuff that has all this sort of language on it, they're going to recognize it as possibly pseudoscience. I also did some summer camps last year. I was asked to teach birding in a couple summer camps. I go, gosh, how do I turn this into something skeptical? Well, eBird reviewers, if you are a birder and you see a bird, you post it on eBird. But there's eBird reviewers. So if I say I'm looking out my window right now and there's a snowy owl here in Miami-Dade County, and I post that on eBird, the reviewer is going to contact me. And he's basically a birding skeptic. She, in this area, her name's Miriam. She's going to say, wait, where did you see the snowy owl? Who else saw the snowy owl? If you have a photo of the snowy owl, she's going to make me show evidence for the claim that I saw a snowy owl. And that's how I turned a birding lesson into a young skeptics lesson. Incidentally, the young lady in the photo with me, that is Bob Marley's granddaughter. That was a total kick to have brought Bob Marley's granddaughter in the session with me. Okay, I think I better stop sharing. I didn't lose anybody because that was long and lengthy. I apologize for that. I got
excellent.
55 minutes. I kept it under an hour.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Yes, sorry, losing my track. If you want to ask a question, please raise the electronic hand. If you don't know where that is, it's under reactions at the bottom of your screen, and there's a raise hand thing. Linda has a question.
Oh, here we go. Sorry about that.
That's
Oh,
okay.
do you see me or?
Yes,
you?
we see you.
Okay, there. Now I got my own picture. Okay, actually, I was going to recommend a book that was written by someone in my humanist group, and it's on the chat board, and it's called Pepper's Special Wings. And it's written by a member of our group called Mary Farah. And she talks about how the pepper moth in England used to have mostly white wings.
Yes.
And then it went that they mostly had black wings because of all the pollution. So the white-winged ones started to die. And then when they cleaned up the pollution, now the black-winged ones are rare again.
Mm.
I'm looking at the book. This looks beautiful. What age group is this?
I don't know. You'd have to look it up on Amazon, but it's a kid's book. And I don't know. I thought that was a pretty good book to teach about evolution. Yes,
this is a beautiful classic example, often used in science classes. But what I'm loving about this book is it looks like it's targeting a younger age group. And that's kind of one of the things I want to do when I retire is start really focusing on those elementary school kids. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I just wanted to say your speech was not boring or rambling or anything like that. It was very inspirational. I was feeling pretty down today, but you perked me up.
Yes,
Yeah,
so I want to tell you that too.
Thank you. This is something I'm very, very involved in climate education, and it can be very depressing, especially living here in Florida. And evolution education, I mean, it's moving. I'm cautious now because of everything going on, but it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah. One of the chat board people was putting up that what the Florida Republicans are trying to do is, start pushing vouchers for private schools.
Oh, no, they've already done that, Linda.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Ugh, I know.
How are you going to overcome that?
I'm starting to think Florida is a lost cause, and I do love it here, and we should all stand up for paradise, right? We live here too.
Yeah.
I don't know. In my school, we went to the principal and she's like, oh, it's just some parents are very angry about some of these books. I'm like, we're angry too. We're just kind of silent about it. And no, you cannot take those books off the shelf. But what we have now is a media specialist, and she's a gatekeeper, and she determines what goes into the library or not. And our classroom libraries are gone. Mine is empty.
Oh, no.
And it's full of physical science workbooks now, is what I'm housing in those shelves that were full of wonderful books for 32 years.
Yeah, did they make you throw them out, or do you have them at home?
I gave them to the media specialist for review. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, and if they say that they don't want certain books, do you get them back, or do they throw them out?
Yes, I get them back, but I take them home because that's my personal library.
Oh, good. So they're safe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. We got to move on. Michael, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, you talked about that one slide with the aliens and the zombies. I do something similar to that in my classroom, but I also add in a little bit of extra information about the difference between scientific proof and dogmatic proof. I get the sense that you're saying that it was kind of like a bad thing to put that in your curriculum, or is that?
Well, if you're following it up with what you're saying, it's just fine. But what that county is trying to promote is that evolution isn't real, but you got to study it anyway because it's on the state test. That's how they're appeasing the parents and the beliefs in that area.
Okay. I mean, I might be coming from a little bit of a different view because I'm teaching college, I'm not teaching grade school kids. But what I find is using that tactic gets a lot of students who would otherwise just completely tune me out
Yeah.
to actually listen to me. And then, I get a lot of students who will come in, like you were saying, going, well, if evolution's not true, or if evolution's true, why are there still monkeys? Why are there still chimpanzees? And, if I use that tactic, at least by the end of it, they'll have an answer to that question rather
Yeah.
than just believing what their parents or their preacher told them.
No, I think that sounds fantastic. And again, it's all how you package it.
Yeah, because I use that tactic where I tell them that I don't require that you believe in evolution, but I do require that you understand evolution, and that evolution is the basis for science. And if you're using creationism, you're not using science, even if you've heard intelligent design and all those other things.
What do you think happens by the end of the semester? Or do you think they're...
I have got a few students. I think probably the most common comment I get is I get students who go, I still believe in Adam and Eve and all this, but I also now understand evolution better, and I will do more research into looking into it. And it kind of, I take that into at least I put a little chink in the armor. I've kind of introduced a little bit of, science into their pseudoscience.
I've been told by my college professor friends that the kids coming in with the creationist ideas the numbers of those kids have been decreasing over time. As the standards have been improving, they're getting fewer of those kids. Would you say that's true in your experience?
At the area I'm at, I would not. I'm in a very Christian, most of my students, their education is coming just as much from their Sunday school as from their grade school. So in my area, I wouldn't say that. Maybe in, the bigger cities and the areas that are not as Christian controlled as this area, maybe. My area, no.
Well, the high school unit that's on our webpage might be useful to you. I know you probably have if you're in college, it's a little higher, but there's really good stuff in there.
And also, one other thing too is by using that language, I get a lot of students who otherwise would just flat out drop my course. Well, just drop my course altogether.
Yeah.
Who would stick with the course at least because I'm telling them that I'm not anti-Christian, I guess.
Right. No, hey, keep fighting the good fight.
Yes, thanks.
It's not easy.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks.
Jim Peterson.
Yes, thank you very much for a very interesting and arresting presentation. I should say that here in Tampa, where I'm at, our group once had Richard Dawkins come in, and he gathered an audience of 700, which is an extraordinary number for Tampa. In any case, but my question regards, I'm living in a senior retirement center here in Tampa, and we're trying to start a group a kind of a humanist group that incorporates an interest and a desire to educate people in regard to this subject, among many others. And I was wondering if you had any suggestions as to anything that would, because I think that seniors get a don't get as much attention as they should. They're a very influential group, especially politically. So what do you think? Can you recommend any? I'm not suggesting you have to get up a list right now, but
I
are there
could.
things out there that
First, I'm going to put my email in the chat
all right?
because I am retiring from the classroom. As I said, I'll have a lot more time to help folks like you, and I want to help folks like you. And my son's going to Gainesville for college, so I'll have definitely. Oh, it's kind of an excuse to go north. I have on the website some humanist groups wanted to host a Darwin Day and had no idea how to do that. So
yeah, we did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I created Darwin Day stations and activities. And what you'd have to do is print out the station signs and the activity signs and the instructions. And you could set up a room and everything's already done for you. It's just a matter of setting up the tables and asking people to bring their computers with them or have computers at the tables with volunteers. And that's one way to see how to introduce evolution to people who maybe didn't get it in school back in the day.
Excellent.
So it's also on our website.
Kind of a stimulus, really, is what we're looking for. Not a complete education, but just to get people thinking about the subject, realizing how important it is. Evolution is what is the basis for all biological functions. And the sooner we understand that, the sooner we're going to have support for the kind of things we need to do to counter climate change.
Sure.
Among other things.
There's people at University of Central Florida. There's a lot of research going on how, natural selection and climate change, and is it happening too fast for natural selection to happen, and how are we going to address this here in Florida? So these topics definitely go together. I also recommend inviting them to our webinars or going back on our YouTube channel and seeing, having a movie night and having one of our recorded webinars being shown. The evolution gone wrong and the evolution of bipedalism were outstanding.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have me some good ideas.
Thank you, Jim. Joe Reinhardt?
Yes, just a really quick observation having to do with evolution is only a theory retort. And that is that my experience is that the majority of people who respond with that understand full well the difference between a scientific theory and a common theory, but they choose not to understand it because then they'd have to admit that creationism is bullshit.
So when I hear someone say that to me, evolution's just a theory, I guess I'm listening more kids saying it, but do you think adults know the difference between scientific theory and the common use of the word theory?
Many of the ones I've encountered know the difference full well, but as I say, they choose not to understand it.
That's interesting. Sorry, Judy, go ahead.
Okay. I worked with a woman who had been a science teacher for many years back in the 80s. And we got into this discussion about the scientific theory. And she's like, well, evolution's just a theory. And I said, well, in science, they use the term theory very differently. And she just looked at me blankly, So my experience is that I think many adults don't have a good science background and don't understand that at all.
But Joe has a point, because I talk a lot with Nathan Lentz. I highly, highly recommend his book, Human Errors. And he asked me why Richard didn't debate creationists. And I told him, Richard says it looks really good on your resume, not so good on mine. And Nathan was actively reaching out and talking to creationists, debating them via Twitter and other ways. And the last time I saw him, which was in SciCon, Las Vegas, he said, Richard's right. They do know what theory means. They do know how evolution works. They're not genuine. They're out to, confuse people. Yes. So I see Joe's point 100%.
Yeah, I agree. The people who are doing the debating know, but common people and the regular people who are just out
Yeah.
of high school, I don't think really have a good understanding of science. Mr. Young.
On this topic, there is a phrase that describes what we're talking about here, and it's called willful blindness. And this is when a person does not want to acknowledge facts or reality. And this is not confined just to a small group of people. This is in mass throughout our population. People are in denial of any fact or reality that encroaches upon what they prefer to believe. So, Joe brings us to the forefront of the discussion, and he's right in doing that, because this is the number one problem with trying to reach people who have been brainwashed. You can't get them to acknowledge reality or facts which undermine the dogma that they have embraced.
Yeah, it's very hard to let go, especially if there's an emotional component. That's why I'm very interested in this inoculation theory, it's called, and the idea of asking people questions and making them kind of come to their own conclusions over time, as opposed to just setting data down, because they're not going to. If like you just said, if it doesn't align with their belief system, they're just gonna like.
If I may bring up one secondary part of this, and that is that people, without realizing it, we pretend to know things that we do not know. And we pretend to know things that are unknowable. We can't possibly know.
Right.
And one of the strategies that I use when I'm talking to Christians or religious people is I come out and I ask them, are you pretending to know something that you cannot possibly know? And if you are, why are you doing this?
Yeah. If I don't know it, you don't know it. So, yeah. Brent Michael is saying it sounds like Socratic method. In the book Mental Immunity by Andy Norman, he goes very deep into Socratic method and why he calls his method of mental immunity the new Socratic method. So yes, absolutely. You're right.
Thank you, Jim. Was that all you had?
Yes, that's for now. The presentation is an excellent presentation. I wish you had 2 hours, because I was trying to read those slides and I couldn't read them.
Yeah, they went by a little
I'm
bit.
sorry.
But we have a
But it was
recording of it.
wonderful, really wonderful. I enjoyed the entire presentation.
Thank you.
You can watch the recording and pause them. Linda.
Have you heard of a program that, and our humanist group in Mississauga do it, and it's by Richard Dawkins was the brainchild behind this one, the Ancestors Trail?
Oh, yes. Yes, but I thought it was in England that I love that book. I could show you mine. It's absolutely covered, and perhaps you could explain it if you'd like to explain it
Yes.
to the others.
Well, actually, what the Ancestors Trail is it's a hiking trail, and there's signs up and each yard or foot equals, let's say, a certain number of years, like each foot equals, let's say, for example, 10 million years or whatever. And then you measure out the miles from different biological developments. And we kind of reversed it a little bit. We start the trail on the earliest, when life first appears. Like he starts it with humans and goes backwards, but we start it where life appears, and then we end with the human being. And I think it's 12.1 kilometers altogether. But I was wondering, for the seniors and for kids, could there be a shorter version of this ancestors trail, or, you know, or for the kids, a simplified one?
Okay,
You know, with
see
the
what
signs?
I'm doing as you say that is I have a folder in my email
Mm,
that I am putting all the things I'm going to do when I retire from teaching every day from 8:30 to 4 with 20-minute lunch. And I am sending myself an email because that is an awesome idea. The Children's Ancestors Tale sent, and now I put it in
Yeah.
the folder for
And-
July.
And maybe one for seniors, because it, like a 12, like over, like a 6 mile hike can be really trying for some of the, you know, but I know a lot of seniors like to go on walks, but maybe like a hike is too much for some of them. So like one that's easier going for, or one that's for families with small kids, because I think that'll draw that people in more than anything else.
That's
and
fun.
and we have good we have a good show up every year when we do it in Mississauga.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I just wanted to put that idea in your head. And
Thank you, Linda.
it was Richard Dawkins that thought of it in England, and then one of our members, Kevin, heard about it and he says, let's do this in Mississauga. Okay, and we've been doing it
Well, I
for
might
quite
have
a
to
few years now.
All right.
Okay, where's my mic?
Thank you, Linda. Michael, you had something?
Yeah, you do a great job reaching out to the parents, to the teachers, to the students, even to the administration. But I'm wondering, do you have any programs in place that reach out to like the community at large, or even to like churches, maybe impressing upon them the damage that not having a good evolutionary background could do to things like, you know, education and medicine and all that?
I do not. It is on my radar. And again, that I don't have to type that email because I've already sent myself that email that once I'm not in the classroom with 2 extra teaching, 2 extra periods and 3 different preps starting July 1st, that is one of my goals, is to expand beyond teachers and students.
Yeah, because I mean, as much of this, you know, their education is coming from within the home as it is the classroom. So I think if
Yeah.
you're not addressing the parents, you're kind of leaving a big part of the equation out.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right. So far what we've been building has been for teachers and students, but it's time to start thinking bigger, definitely. Have me back in a year and I'll give you the update on that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Dennis, you have a question, comment? You're muted.
There we go.
There we go.
I taught applied physics at a high school in Iowa, which is another state that's gone insane recently. But about 15 years ago, I put a sign up in a little display case outside my classroom. I did a nice sketch of Charles Darwin. And on the bottom of it, I put a panel and it said, "We have the fossils, we win." The principal came by and he looked at it and goes, "Well, I think if you take down the panel, you'll be okay." And he let me keep the Darwin picture up. But, you know, you did what you could do.
Yes. That's good. I like that, Dennis. Did you have anything else? Dennis? No. Okay. One of the things that I'm encountering, Bertha, is I volunteer at a cancer hospital. And I get so tired of people when they tell me they're responding well to treatment or they're doing all this stuff and they thank God. I know this is outside the scope of what we've talked about.
Yeah.
But I always come back and say, yeah, science is really making progress and they have research here and all of that stuff, because it just drives me nuts that they don't give their doctors and these scientists who are researching all this stuff the credit for their success.
Just like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking about the tragedy now in Mississippi with the tornadoes.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's going to be someone thanking God because their house wasn't hit And it's kind of like thanking a serial killer for killing the neighbors next door,
Yeah.
you know? I know. Recently though, I've been thinking differently about, I realize that is it okay that it gives people comfort? I don't all yell at me at once, but I'm wondering, like, a friend of mine was recently laid off, and I didn't say anything like, don't worry, let's pray, God will provide, or any of those things, because obviously I don't feel that way. But one of her friends did, and she said, oh, and I know it's not true, but she made me feel so much better.
That's one of the problems we have, is what do we say in those situations?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of you is just as good, is it?
Yeah, I think anything that lets them know people care about them is
Right.
helpful.
And you can appreciate science alongside your own personal beliefs, right? Like what you say,
Yeah.
oh, isn't science amazing? 20 years ago, this treatment wasn't around, or something like that, just to kind of bring the focus back to the men and women in the labs doing the research.
And I think Brent put
Is
in
eventually harmful. Yes, that's.
I think that's true, and I think it is part of the problem of not having a good science education.
Yeah. And I don't feel that way. I just recently been like the book Mental Immunity. I'll bring it back up again with Andy Norman. He talks about downstream versus upstream results of belief, and how it can make people feel better. And this is like, I've been tackling this in the last week, because I'm really one of these people that I hate when they say I'll pray for you and things happen for a reason, and I just want to walk away. So
but I would never say that to someone who just had a death.
Oh no. No.
I tell them that I'm so glad you have that to comfort you.
Yes.
All I can say. Linda, I'm going to go on to Jim, since you just had a time and Jim hasn't had a second time. So Jim, you go ahead. I'll come back to you, Linda.
Well, I feel highly privileged. Anyway, yeah, in regard to your comment about how people attribute divine intervention to particular fortunate circumstances, I felt that this actually would, by not confronting it, by not talking about it, I mean, it doesn't have to be discussed at the moment that people are dealing with their crisis, but at some other time, in a more calm atmosphere, one should analyze the suppositions that underlie that belief system, and show how false it is, and how it undermines the genuine efforts that need to be made to deal with emergency situations, to deal with our responses to them. It's not harmless. It sounds harmless, but it really isn't, because it's a way of avoiding dealing with reality.
Ricky Gervais, when someone says to him, I'll pray for you. Fine, thank you. Thank you very much. But so we stop chemotherapy. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You could pray all you want, but don't stop the chemo.
Right.
So
that's the least you can do.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Linda?
Hi, just a quickie this time, which I put another, Bertha, I put another one. It's called the Vega Science Trust. I put it in the chat. I'd like you to check that one out, because what you're doing was similar to what Harry Kroto, the Nobel Prize winner who did the buckyballs, right? And he got a Nobel Prize for it. Yes, he was putting up an internet science course for third world kids. And I figure it might have some resources for you.
thank you. I'm looking at it right now.
And it's aimed at the younger set, which is what you want. So in case you haven't heard of it, I thought I'd let you bring it up for your attention.
Thank you.
So
I
hope
just
it's
brought it
useful.
up.
Thanks, Linda. That's
Okay.
be glad to
Okay,
have
now I
that
shut
too.
off. Thanks. I'm gonna shut.
Does anyone else want to ask or comment or say anything? Because you're welcome to. Amy, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was really impressed by your talk, and I love teachers. I always wanted to be a teacher, but I guess I don't know, I could still be a teacher, you know, and
Yeah,
I
I
guess we
don't
all are
know.
in a way. But I just wanted to mention that you know, I was a hospice volunteer for 7 years, and I loved it until I couldn't do it anymore. And then very often people would ask me to read from the Bible with them or pray with them and so forth. And rather than, you know, coming out and being insulting about, no, I don't do that stupid stuff, I say, you know what, it's a very personal choice for me, my faith and my spirituality, and it's about my personal relationships that I choose not to share that. And, you know, someone will then say, well, are you an atheist? Do you not believe in God? And I say, yeah, I'm an atheist. I said, you know, but I'm not an anti-theist. You know, if it gives you comfort, that's okay. But I think it also gives people the respect and also allowed me to retain my
Your own
autonomy,
person.
I guess, you know,
Yeah.
not have to lie, because I don't like to lie either. So I'm wondering, you know, when you get in front of a family that's very devout about creationism, how do you just say science is important too? Look at those ears. What a cutie patootie.
He hears people outside.
Uh,
Um, I've had kids be very difficult in the classroom, and you got to kill them with kindness. You got to love them. I don't ever insult or anything like that. But I remember Richard telling me once, just kick them out of your room. I was like, I can't do that. That's terrible.
And
One
to
of the
Brent,
things,
religion doesn't deserve respect, but people going through
exactly.
the
And
hardest time of their lives do, I think.
absolutely. Yeah, he was referring to kids, definitely not somebody in hospice. But what I have done in the past is there's 2 books. One is called Finding Darwin's God by Kenneth Miller. I mentioned him earlier, and Francis Collins, who was the NIH.
Yeah.
He has a book called The Science of Language and Faith, and he's an evangelical Christian who started BioLogos, which is a foundation trying to convince evangelical or very Christians to accept evolution. I'll buy them their books, and I've even reached out to them, and they have both reached out back, because I know that they're not going to like the Ancestor's Tale and a Dawkins book, and maybe slowly in that direction, kindly and gently and respectfully move them towards accepting evolution. Only because it is so important for medicine and agriculture and just our science innovation as a nation in general.
Well, I think a lot of the misunderstanding about the virus was because people don't understand evolution or how science works.
Yeah, they say, I forgot who said that biology without evolution is just stamp collecting.
Mm.
It really ties the science together. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with this T.I.E.S is I used to teach, for example, if you dissect an owl pellet, you can find a little humerus in the femur and the rib and the cranium of all these little animals that the owl has ingested. And I did it for ecology. And I thought for some like 25 years, what a missed opportunity to talk about homologous structures and how I taught you the human skeleton and now you can identify a femur that's smaller than a centimeter. That kind of comment should be made across the entire school year.
Yes.
Whenever evolution pops up. And we're teaching it in like these discrete little units, and we should be tying all of this together all the time.
Yeah. Amy, did you have anything else?
Just a quick anecdote that I had met a person who's now a good friend of mine who had once told me that she would pray for me because I didn't believe in a God. And I basically told her to fuck off. And she was like shocked, just, I'm doing you a favor. I'm praying for you. And I said, go ahead and pray for me all you want. Just don't announce it. Don't tell me about it, because quite honestly, I find it offensive. I think it's saying that, well, since you're so wrong, or
Yeah,
if you
there's
have a
something wrong with
cold, I'm
you.
going to, right. So it was through a meetup, and she messaged these through meetup and said, would love to continue our conversation. Are you available for lunch? So that was a few months later. Now years later, her mother passed away.
Mhm.
And she said to me, you made it more difficult for me, you know that.
Ah,
And I said, oh, I said, I said, I don't know what to say to that,
I mean, my
You
son
lost
was
your
really
comfort.
upset. Yeah.
I said, but don't you
but-
feel more authentic? Is that not compensating?
And isn't this life enough? I don't know. My son cried when I told him there was no Santa Claus. Should I let him keep believing in it at 18?
Breastfeed.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's
You don't want to take people's comfort away. I understand that. It's a very tricky situation.
Yes. Okay, Joe?
Yeah, I think Sam Harris sums it up quite nicely. He says there are only three arguments concerning religion. One, the stories are true. Two, the stories are useful. And three, there's something wrong with you, for pointing out that arguments 1 and 2 are specious. And Benjamin Franklin sums it up the best when he says that all religious arguments can be condensed as such. 'Tis so, 'tis not.
Mm.
End
That's
of
about
argument.
it. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Is that it?
That's it for me.
Mel. Oops, I lowered your hand, Mel. I'm sorry. Please go ahead. You're muted though.
I watched someone give an answer to a person who said, I'll pray for you. And what she said was, I don't believe in the supernatural. And the person asked her what she means by supernatural. And she said the Webster's Dictionary definition of supernatural. Whether it was the right answer or not is how it's delivered. If it's delivered that they'll do it to help you, that's fine. If it's delivered as, why don't you pray with me? That might be the correct response.
Mm.
But we should all keep in mind that religion was not written by stupid people. Religion was written by rich people who wanted to keep the poor people from killing them. I'm down.
Karl Marx.
Thank you, Mel. So I didn't realize that you were going to be involved with the Young Skeptic thing. And I just wrote somebody who is listed in the CFI book as being part of that group. And we're very interested in promoting science education with children. And in fact, last year we gave away probably about 50 science kits to kids.
Wow.
Plus we paid for the owl pellet experiment in a
I love that
classroom.
lab.
And we paid for a class on critical thinking for high school students. So we're trying very hard to support that however we can. What else can we do? We have a community center close to where we live that has a lot of kids involved with it. And I'm just wondering if there's, aside from science kids, is there anything else that you would recommend? These are probably elementary school children that go there mostly, although there are some middle school kids. But I'm just wondering what kind of things can we do to help promote critical thinking, which I think is so important and for everybody, not just kids, but even for the adults that we live with.
We are starting to put together resources on the Young Skeptics page.
Okay,
Some of them are for younger groups. Again, I'm willing to travel after June more. I've got somebody writing beautiful lessons for elementary school kids on haunted houses. And we bring in CFI's chief paranormal investigator, that's Kenny Biddle, who's an excellent speaker as well, by the way. He comes in via Zoom and he talks to the kids about haunted houses, and he has all the gadgets to look for ghosts, even though he doesn't think they exist. And one of the things is if we attempt to do it with a non-triggering subject like Bigfoot or haunted houses, hopefully they will pass that knowledge when it comes to things that are important, like vaccine
yes,
hesitancy and even religion. Can we discuss this? I mean, I am also, the other thing is I'd have to find a teacher. I have a lot of teachers all over the country now that are part of the network. I could find whoever's closest to you as well and have them come in.
That'd be great. I can tell you though that as someone who was raised in a fundamentalist home, even though I figured out at 5 that the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus wasn't real, it never occurred to me to apply it to God.
I did.
Good for you. I did.
Little later, but
well, I did.
And kids today, the movement towards secularization is very strong. If anything, I have to worry more about them falling into horoscopes and crystals, and all that kind of woo stuff, because they're replacing traditional religion with crystals, and things like that. So critical thinking is critical, basically. To keep all that kind of thinking away.
Yeah, exactly. Because we really, if we don't stop that nonsense, and I am very concerned about where our school system is going, especially the public school system, because when they start paying for everybody in Florida, they're going to be paying for everybody to go to private school. And I'm afraid it's going to destroy the public school system.
I believe that is their goal.
Oh, it is their goal. They've been trying to do that for a long time. And it's, I don't think we have any hope of stopping it anytime soon. So, but it's very scary where we are right now in Florida. Well, yes, crystals are prettier than religious doctrine. I agree.
Enough. What is it? Outgrowing God, Richard says, they're so beautiful. Crystals are so beautiful. Can't you just say, wow, they're beautiful, period? They don't have any sort of supernatural energetic properties. They're just beautiful to look at, period. So
it's like the thing that, oh crap, what's his name? The guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide, Douglas Adams said, a garden is just as beautiful whether there's fairies on the bottom or not. So okay, well, anything else anybody wants to bring up before we call it a day and let her out early? No? Well, I want to thank everyone for coming, and Bertha, I really want to thank you for being here and helping us. And we'll get with you about the other things we want to talk about.
Yes, I'm looking forward to doing different new things.
I bet you
are. Horizons. So 33 years with thousands and thousands of middle schoolers. I think I've paid my dues. I do love them, but I'm ready.
I bet you are. Well, thank you everyone for coming. We'll have another meeting in a couple of weeks and you'll get notified about it. And see you all. Have a great rest of the evening and we'll see you all later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
If you are pleased with our programs, please tap the like button and then subscribe to our channel. Don't forget the bell so you don't miss any notices of new material. We usually post new content every week. See our created playlists to discover events thus far this year, or to see a list of topics and speakers from our rapidly growing and diverse collection since 1992.